I think it's just the perfect way for people who may not know how to get in the door, which are the people that you're describing. Those doors don't just open for us, somebody has to help us get in there. And apprenticeships could be that something that helps you get in there.
The sponsor of today's video is CapEx Advisory. For many organizations, a capital project can be once-in-a-lifetime generation opportunity to expand capacity and amplify impact. A capital project can also represent a leap into the world of real estate development, financial stress, and distraction from core mission activities. CapEx Advisory can help. Your mission is their mission.
Hi, and welcome to the Build Your Path podcast. I'm your host, Emma Shirey, and today, you guys, this is a weird one, but I promise it's real. I'm here with my mom, Yvette Diamond. Mom, Yvette, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am the Executive Director for the Maryland Apprenticeship Connector. I have a vast career in different industries, different job types, and I bring a variety of experiences and skill sets to the workplace today. But it's been a long journey.
It has, and I've been lucky enough to be around for quite a bit of it, which is awesome. Like a lot more than really anyone that else is in your life. Right. But I do think I really wanted you on here today, kind of two reasons. One is obviously you know what there is to know about apprenticeship on so many different levels. So we're going to talk about that. But I also want to cover, like you said, you've been on so many different paths. And this podcast is all about career changers, students who maybe have no idea what they're trying to do when they graduate high school, when they're choosing high schools, when they're choosing postgraduate programs. So this is, I think, a really cool conversation to hear about all the different places, hats that you've worn, and the different paths that you've taken to get where you are and where you're going and all that. So those are my two reasons for having you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about where you are and how you got here.
Okay. So, so I have had a crazy journey that includes computer sales back in the late 80s, early 90s, when it was a commodity product and it was kind of a crazy time for computers. Then I went into databases and training for a publishing company and became their vice president of operations while I was there. So I took a lot of different roles and eventually got promoted to vice president. I was the youngest vice president and second female. So, big accomplishments at an early age, but a lot of work. And then decided, long story, but after 9/11 and having a young child at home, realized that I wanted to shift my priorities and have some flexibility. And so we went ahead and changed our career path, and I opened up a day spa that became an award-winning day spa, and we opened up a second location that included a salon. And then I started a 7-year life tsunami that included the loss of my grandmother and my mother, and then the loss of my marriage, my business, my home, and had to start over. And then kind of built back up and ended up again back on track being chief operations officer of a logistics company, and then decided I really wanted to help really understand and address the issue of how is it possible in our nation to have an underemployment problem at the same time we're saying we have a labor shortage. And how do we use both of those challenges to solve each other? So I started researching, working on projects, one with the Greater Baltimore Committee and one now with the Maryland Apprenticeship Connector.
Awesome. I think just thinking about who's listening to this podcast, so many, I think especially women who are entering the industry right now, many of those are career changers. So folks who have been in other lifetimes, maybe hit rock bottom, and now are building up. And you kind of talk about that 7-year tsunami, like you call it. How did that rock bottom lead to where you are now when it comes to priorities, when it comes to what you knew you needed to do with your life?
So I am someone who always kind of plows through things. So as I was coming up for air in between the waves of the tsunami, I think I focused on just what was in front of me, right? What can I do to be okay today, and provide what I needed to provide for my family today? I'm really grateful for my rock bottom. It changed my life, and it changed the trajectory of what I do today, because it gave me a better understanding of reality in the world. So I was very fortunate when I was starting off in my career, and I didn't necessarily appreciate it. I didn't necessarily recognize it. And I had a lot of opportunities unfold for me. Of course, I'm doing the work. I'm putting in a lot of the hours. I'm sacrificing a lot of things. But I recognize now that it was my privilege to have those opportunities, to use those skills and abilities. And so when I lost everything, one thing I never questioned was that I didn't belong in this space of scarcity, right? I naturally felt like I belonged in a place of good things, of nice things, and the things that I grew up with and the things that I was used to. And so it never occurred to me that I was going to stay in that space. And so I just went along in my path and tried everything I could try to get myself back on track. I read a book, oddly now looking back that he's our governor, but it was The Other Westmore. And in reading that book, I really became passionate about this issue, because it's where I first understood this privilege. And I didn't have a word for it at the time, but this idea that not everyone has an internal awareness that they don't belong in their circumstance, that they can and should expect to get out of it. And so that really started this journey of understanding the and underemployed and the challenges and barriers that sit within that. And we needed to overcome it. We need as a state, as a nation, to do what we can to level that playing field. And at the same time, we have employers saying that they can't find people. And yet I know that I couldn't find a job when I was looking for one. So it isn't that we don't exist. It isn't that people with abilities and skills and experiences aren't out there. It's they're not looking for us in the right spaces. And the barriers that they put in place that maybe they don't even realize they put in place are affecting them as well. And so having this platform now where we can try to help employers see what is available, and help the employee find new ways to reach those employers, I think is really powerful. So I think for a variety of reasons, the loss of everything really allowed me to be a better person, to to find what my passion in life is going to be, and make me rise to that occasion. So I am grateful. I also think it made me a better mother, and a better spouse. So, and a better friend.
I think when you have your priorities in place, often after a challenging kind of cycle in life, you become a better person overall, right? When you learn that there is self-worth, that you can push for a career, there are things that you can and should have. I mean, I think back to when I was working in the trade school world, and I realized that I was the first person that had ever asked this gentleman what he wanted from life. He was like, at first he was like, oh, I just want to make money to support my family. And I was like, yes, absolutely. Like, that is what a job is. But like, what is your career? Like, what is your actual life goal? And so it took a lot of getting there, because it started with this like low self-worth that I think is something we're not all privileged to have. And like, we are lucky to have that, right? But that is such a thing.
Yeah, I think it's also a sense of survival, right? When I was in survival mode, that is all I was thinking about.
There's nothing but tomorrow, right?
I'll do anything legal to make money enough to pay, for food on the table, for, all that we needed. And I took some crazy jobs to do that. But I learned from all of those. Like, I don't regret any of that. And all of those life experiences are what give me this roundness now, that I'm able to connect with employers, with, I do some career coaching, and so it helps me, guide people down these career paths, and really see the solutions so clearly. They're not so easy to implement, but they're very clear in what we need to do as stakeholders in this workforce ecosystem.
So as someone who, imagine, is like entering the workforce, they're beginning this ecosystem, maybe they're beginning it again, they had a baby, they're ready to go, like they have to support their family, but they also want a career that they're proud of. Obviously, we're here to promote like construction and the apprenticeship industry. What 3 things would you offer someone?
Sure. So, identify mentors, and they don't have to be official mentors. I mean, many of the people that I learned from in my career, and I find people in every job I have, they don't even know that they're my mentors, but I'm watching them, I'm listening, I'm learning, both not just what to do, but also what not to do, right? I watched some people and I thought, I don't think I'd want to do that way. I think I want to do it a little different. So really recognizing that there are people out there that I can learn from. And so I would encourage that. And also, for those that you're comfortable sharing that they're your mentor, I think is important, because they are your connector. They're your network, and building that network is so important. I know in social media, we talk a lot about how many, friends or people that you're linked in with. It's really important, because those are the ways that you can get other opportunities and learn what is changing and what is out there. So important to build your social professional network. I also think thinking about not just the job you want, but probably more important than anything is the environment in which you're willing to work. And we talk a lot about conditions of satisfaction when you think about relationships, but it applies to your work as well.
And so think that.
Condition of
satisfaction. Can you define that?
Yes, a condition of satisfaction is a list of conditions details about, in this case, a job that are your have to haves and maybe your want to haves, but things that will make you satisfied in that job. Most of us are not just working because of a paycheck. We're also working because we like the work. We like what we're doing. We like the people we work with. We like the environment that we're working in. We believe in what the organization is selling. There is so many facets to the work we do and what makes us happy that I feel like it should be less about the job itself and more about all those conditions. So really ahead of time, thinking through what is the kind of job I'm looking for? What does it mean? What are those conditions of satisfaction? So important. And it really helps as you start looking at the opportunities to say, I don't even want to apply for that one because I don't agree with the way they treat their employees. You read stuff in the articles or whatever about them and you say, that's just not for me. Or the environment is all outside and I want to be inside, or vice versa. Or maybe I'm someone who really likes adventure. And so I should be looking at jobs that have, climbing the electrical poles or welding underwater or, some crazy adventurous type job. Or maybe I really love working by myself and I just want to be in the office doing data entry, right? All of those are great jobs, but they're not great for everybody. And so thinking through those conditions of satisfaction are so critical. And then I think, you don't have to get it right the first time.
Or the second.
As you heard in my intro, I've had a lot of different crazy jobs, and they're not all on my resume, but I've done a lot of different things. They're all great for learning and meeting people and paying bills, right? So just the recencies and lifetime works in this scenario also. So there's a reason I had certain jobs at certain times in my life, and they did what they needed to do at the time. And then when I was done with it, I went on to something else, sometimes because I really wanted to do it, and sometimes because I had to do it, and sometimes because I was forced to do it. But each time it was important for me to take away what I could take away from it, including the failures. And I know you said you only want 3, but I want to add
with a 4th one.
Failure is important. And it's important for a lot of reasons. And one that has recently become very clear to me is that it builds our resilience. And resilience is also important for our body. And when we are not having, our bodies and our minds are not having to use this muscle of resiliency, use this muscle of loss, failure, pain, and rebuild, then it can't get good at it, right? And so all of a sudden, something happens to us physically, and maybe our body isn't ready. It doesn't know how to fight. It doesn't know how to bounce back. And so I really am believing that resiliency for our minds and our bodies and our being is an important muscle, and you can't have it, strengthened if you don't face adversity. So taking calculated risks, I used to say, if you're going to do something stupid, be smart about it, right? So I'm not saying jump off a bridge. I'm saying jump off the bridge and know that you have your bungee or your parachute or some apparatus that's going to soften the fall. So make smart decisions to take risks and be okay with failure. I also think that failure offers our ability to evolve. We weren't supposed to be everything at the age of 18 and 20. We're supposed to continue this evolution and progression over our entire life. And if we're not taking those risks, then we aren't growing. And so it's important to fail, and it's painful, and it is hard, and you need your friends and your mentors and your family to be there, but it's important.
I think with all of that, apprenticeship sort of offers a way to fail, a way to try the things, to try on hats, to a way to try things and mess up, or try things and really succeed in this cool kind of contained way, right?
Right.
And that's really where a lot of your work is leading right now, is saying, hey, an apprenticeship is a really safe space at 16, 17, 18, 25 years old to make decisions and take risks and do things in a safe environment, right?
Right. So you get a choice to apply for a job, and you can choose a job that doesn't have an apprenticeship, or you can choose one that does. And if you choose a job that has an apprenticeship, you also get support, right? You're not coming into that by yourself. You're getting support from your instructors, from the sponsor of the program. You are, if you're in school, if you're in high school doing it, you're getting support from the school system. So you walk in the door with extra help, and you also gain support in funding it. So someone is helping to pay for that education. So I find apprenticeships to be a great opportunity for earning and learning simultaneously, reducing your overall cost of education, and yet still having college level curriculum. Whether you finish college or not, you're still getting a high level of learning, and that can be applied to the job that you're going to stay on that path. Or, as I did, you take that knowledge and you apply it to some other path. But they're all worth a start. And again, it helps to get you connected into your social professional network and gaining introduction to experiences and business opportunities and a larger world than what you probably see today. And so I do think apprenticeships offer a nice space that has some bumpers to help guide. And also, the apprenticeship design has these kind of steps. So everyone, your employer and yourself and your educator, they all know that you are working on these steps, and you will be compensated as you make the, as you master that curriculum. And so it's nice that you already know, and they already know, when you will get paid more, right? When you have earned the opportunity to make more money, you will make it. You don't have to fight about it.
So it's holding like the company accountable, so that you don't have to make up for that or fight for that, or right, like that.
Right. So you don't have to ask for it, because it's already there. It's embedded. And so as a new person into this world of working, it takes some of that pressure off in the early years because it's built in. And so hopefully once you've graduated from this program, you're feeling more confident, you're understanding the layout, and you'll be able to ask those questions, have those expectations moving forward. But in your beginning phases, it's really nice to just know it's happening. If you do the work, you will get the increase.
So this is making me really think, like, an apprenticeship is perfect for as a reset button in a way, right? You're resetting maybe at 16. You're like, all right, I'm ready to start, set up my career. I'm ready to learn the skills, get my job. I'm ready to do it right this second. That's one option. You hit rock bottom, you're looking around, everything is pitch black. Apprenticeship is a kind of beacon of light, right? It is 4 years, 2 years, whatever. Most are 4, is that correct?
It really depends. Construction, I think it is mostly 4.
So you find that apprenticeship for 4 years, you have a path, you have a job, you have education, you're gaining that knowledge. And then after that, you'll already be set back up. And then it's all of that in between. So I'm really excited for both young people, 16, 18, 30, to find apprenticeship as the sort of beacon of light ahead when they don't know. Not when it's the last decision, when it's like, oh, well, everything else failed, it's time for apprenticeship. No, but like you have this whole thing set up.
Well, and I think it's powerful because your possibilities are endless, right? So it shouldn't be a last resort. It should be your first resort, because it can lead you to college. So if you think you want to go to college, or you're not sure if you want to go to college, this is a great way to get started and decide, yes, I want to go continue, and there's additional funding support for that. Or I don't need to, because I'm already doing the trade or the, the work that I really love to do, and I'm making good money, and I don't need a 4-year degree for this, right? It's really sky's the limit of where you can go once you get started. But finding that starting point is so critical. And then I would also say that within the build industry, let's not pigeonhole ourselves, right? So you can definitely do a trade. That's a traditional apprenticeship. But more and more, we're seeing apprenticeships being developed around the professional trades. So construction management, engineering, design. So if you want a job like that, there are apprenticeships being developed to do that, including college, right? Because a lot of those require some college. Also, the back office, right? Within construction, you still have jobs like accounting and finance, HR. So if you like those kinds of jobs, the construction industry is a great place to do that work, because especially in this Maryland area, we have a lot of construction businesses that are booming. We are very fortunate with the government so close that we seem to always have a good steady flow of development happening. And so, it's a good industry to be in, no matter what kind of job it is you're doing within that industry. Tech is even in this space, right? There's a lot of technology going on in even like help desk, right? Every company has that kind of technology, but even more so in the technology of building. So again, in construction, there's so many opportunities for jobs that should and could be apprenticeable. And so identifying where that's happening and taking advantage of that is really powerful.
So I am loving that there's so many different opportunities for folks of any background, any interest to enter the construction industry. Obviously, that's why my entire podcast exists, is because there are so many paths that you can take. Obviously, you've taken some. All of our podcast guests have taken different paths to get to where they are now and where they're going in the future. But I think a special thing to talk about is the construction industry sounds so male dominated, but there are so many other opportunities that aren't male dominated within the construction industry. Most of the time, I am working with women, right? I'm working with women on different projects as PMs, as folks on my podcast, as folks in the communications industry, like so many different parts. How do apprenticeships support women and other underrepresented populations to gain access to careers that they're interested in?
So it is that entry level idea, right? It gives you that bumper environment, the space to get started and enter into an organization. As I mentioned, when I was describing my journey, I started at a publishing company doing data work. And in 9 years, I had 7 promotions and became the vice president of operations. So that is happening because I'm in an organization that is providing me those opportunities and I'm working hard within it, right? That goes to conditions of satisfaction. What kind of organization do you want to be in? Making sure you want to be there for 9 years. But if you find that space, this is really powerful, because if you start in as an apprentice and you work your way, you're meeting the people, you're doing the work, you're getting your pay, you graduate and you stay. And you stay because you love it and you're having these other opportunities, right? So starting in the beginning, right, when I did that in my career, I was leaving the computer industry because it was a chaotic place and every business at that time was going under every 6 months, and it was like a revolving door and it was too scary. I wanted some structure. So I decided I'm going to shift totally and do something different. What can I do that takes the knowledge I have and apply it? And so it wasn't in a formal apprenticeship program, but it did offer me a lot of training on the job. So apprenticeships, at least now that there are so many options that weren't available to me, I think it's just the perfect way for people who may not know how to get in the door, which are the people that you're describing. Those doors don't just open for us, somebody has to help us get in there. And apprenticeships could be that something that helps you get in there.
And mentors too I feel like you get that through an apprenticeship, but also that could help you get in the door.
Yes.
And that kind of ties back to your 3, your top,
yes.
or 4, however many we got to. But yeah, I am so excited for our listeners on, if you feel like you are at rock bottom, you feel like there is no path for you, you don't know what it is, you're not sure about it, you might like construction, you might like a tech or a healthcare role. Apprenticeship sounds like it is the way to go.
I think it's the wave of the future. We're realizing that the cost of education is too high and it is a barrier for too many, and it's not necessary for every job. And it definitely isn't necessary to be done in 4 years. And so no matter the job, no matter what your goals are in terms of your long-term education, apprenticeships offer the opportunity to earn and learn, have a career, gain your finances, have some of your education paid for. And by the time you start paying for education, you're making a wage that can justify it, so that you're not increasing your debt before you come out. So wherever possible, I encourage the development of apprenticeships to help employers gain access to talent and to help students and people gain access to opportunity.
How can students, so I'm going to ask this on 2 points. So for high school students and for adult students, or adult future learners of apprenticeships, how can they find an apprenticeship? We already sold them. They're good to go. They're ready for their path. What are next steps?
So everyone can call or reach out to me or anyone on my team at macworkforce.org. Or if you're in school, I would highly recommend conversations with your apprenticeship coordinators. Some of them are called coaches or counselors. Every school system has their own group in their work-based learning environments, college and career ready divisions. So reach out to them and understand what currently exists that you could participate in. And if they don't have what you're looking to participate in, make sure you share your desire. If you really want it, I would also suggest doing some homework to see, are there businesses that have job openings for the type of job that you want to start with? And ask your coordinator to reach out to the employer to see if they would consider starting an apprenticeship and having you be their first apprentice. If you are
insider tip right there.
if you are out of high school and want to get started, there are apprenticeship navigators at the Maryland Department of Labor, and there is an entire website for apprenticeships that the Department of Labor has where you can search for apprenticeship opportunities. Some of that is up to date, but if you're not finding what you're looking for, again, I would suggest reaching out to mccei.org or macworkforce.org, and between our two organizations, we'll be able to help you.
And that's Maryland Apprenticeship Connector, macworkforce.org, and obviously mccei.org and buildyourpath.org. If you're still searching for some answers, some solutions, some just thoughts, you can always play around on that website. We have our guidebook, our podcasts, our career exploration videos. Mom, thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast. Any final thoughts or takeaways for our audience before we go?
Just to say good luck. I think that anyone who wants change, if you're not happy, don't stay, right? So change is good, and embrace it and entertain all these ideas that are out there. And apprenticeship is one of them, but there are so many things that are out there to help people. You just have to find them. So do the research and make change, because, you know, it's not easy, but life is short, and it's important to do things that fill your cup and that you're passionate about, and you feel like you're living your best life.
Here's to living your best life. You guys, check out buildyourpath.org. Remember, dig in and let's build your path. We'll see you next month.